boys, girls, all my trombaholics, and all of his light-a-nights out there. Welcome back to Otherobert. I, of course, am the other. I'm Joe, and I'm joined here by
Robert to discuss South Park, the episode 9 of season 19, Truth in Advertising.
Yes, and this was pretty much a direct continuation to last week's episode. We didn't get a chance to do last week's episode, but thought last week's episode was incredible. One of the best of the season. It's amazing. And this continued that. I don't think it brought too much new to the table in terms of the jokes. It did in story. The story progressed, which is something... When did we ever think that that's what we would say for South Park? The story progressed, but the jokes...
Never.
Not South Park. It's what's up now.
As someone because you've watched it for years. I mean, people who watch our
19 years.
Yeah, long
19
time.
years. That's how long South Park has been going. And
It's a long time.
and this is what they're doing this now. They did this last season too, but we don't talk about that.
Yeah, last season we covered I think almost all episodes of that, and we didn't like those.
Exactly. Yeah, but so this week continued what we had last week with Jimmy and Bob Brady. What this episode did, though, it kind of brought the boys back into the mix. They'd kind of been on the back burner for a few episodes, haven't really been in the thick of it, and this kind of brought them into it in many ways. Still very focused on Jimmy and Bob Brady, and what I love about what they're doing here is everyone is involved. The whole town seems to be involved. Randy, Principal Victoria being back, that's an amazing twist, I thought, that we saw last week. Garrison's back. This is all great. Well, what do you think?
What I liked about the episode particularly is how it's dealing with the consequences of the town changing, thanks to the principal, obviously. But I just loved how they discussed, I guess it kind of I don't want to call it hipster, but like the town getting a Whole Foods and the town, like the poor area of the town.
It goes along with the whole PC gimmick.
Yeah. It's just, I really just like how the show is very canonical in a sense now, and how it stays true to its arcs, and I like that. I liked the repercussions and how also the change is affecting the townsfolk, and change does affect the townsfolk to a very high degree, to a point that one of the parents has a second mortgage. They're worried about moving. It's very reflective of what's going on in real life.
And the story is interesting with a lot of the things that they're doing. I'm looking forward to next week now because I want to know how this concludes, because this is actually a very good story that they're building for themselves here.
Yes.
And they still manage to be funny. That is what South Park has done perfectly for this season. They've managed to stay funny. They've managed to incorporate the town, which is what we love. They've gone seasons without addressing Bob Brady, really. He's been here and there lightly. But Garrison, Bob Brady, Victoria, they're all prominent right now. And that's what fans of South Park have wanted for a long time. So they're managing to do that with the humor that's dead on this season. And the story, the canon that you're talking about, it's a perfect combination. This season is a home run. And this episode was no exception. And this really just continued that. Did it bring a lot of new elements to the table? No, not really, but continued the story, and this was the penultimate episode of the season, and it really built it up nicely.
I have a feeling if you go back and rewatch it when episode 10 airs and you just watch like in a row, like as you said, it might not have brought new things, but it probably would be just as enjoyable. Like if you
Absolutely.
watch 8, 9, and 10 all at once. So I think it works in that regard.
Two
things I want to talk about real quick is Caitlyn Jenner's back, or Bruce Jenner is back, and I absolutely love the scene with the mustache, just because she didn't want to wear it, and I think the principal is like, you like, that's weird to you, like you don't want to wear a fake mustache, and like that had me really rolling around laughing, that particular scene. I like that.
Well, I love the combination of Garrison and Caitlyn Jenner, because if there's any character to really bounce off what they've depicted as Caitlyn Jenner, it would be Garrison. Because, like you said, you haven't been watching South Park for long. Garrison started out as a straight male, he was then a gay male, he was then a straight woman. No, then he was a straight woman, and then he was a lesbian, and then he went back to being a straight man.
So he just did Bruce Jenner's cycle.
He's been all over the place, Garrison. So for any character to really bounce the story off of with Caitlyn Jenner, Garrison, it fits.
Yeah, that does fit now that you say it like that you put it in that context. But I like that quite a bit. I just like those scenes. And then my kind of last thing about the episode, as someone who works on the internet or part-time on the internet, I love the concept of advertising that they were talking about in this episode, with literally the history of ads that you get, followed up how like they talk about blocking it online, using TiVo to fast forward through it. I know a lot of people really hate ads, especially like if you're on Facebook or something like that and you click an app or a link and all the ads pop up and you can't deal with them because they're so aggravating. But ads are really important in the 21st century just for revenue purposes, and people get paid a lot of money from them. And I just like the way that South Park talked about it and integrated ads, especially having the ad become a real life little girl. I thought that was hysterical as well, in terms of just enticing people. Like ads entice people, and that was literally an example of how an ad entices you.
South Park did in this episode and the past couple episodes what it does perfectly. In this episode, it took a concept like the ads and everything, and they did a social commentary on it, and they took it to the extreme. So they were saying this is what ads were, this is what they are, and now this is what they're going to be with turning into humans.
Yeah.
They're going extreme with it, but in a very clever and funny and really intelligent way. And that's what South Park does best. When they're in that zone, that's when they kill it. That's what makes them the conglomerate that they've become. Really, one scene I want to talk specifically about is I think a lot of people aren't going to catch this. Maybe they are. Maybe I could be wrong. But there was a scene that as soon as I was watching, I was smiling. It was I guess a tribute, I guess you could say, to Ex Machina. It was pulled straight from the movie Ex Machina, which is, I think, one of the best movies of the year. And it was the scene with Jimmy and Leslie in the room where the ads block up and they can't see what's going on in the room. And she says, "Help me. They're, trying to get rid of me," or whatever she said. "Help me." And that is straight out of Ex Machina, that entire scene. And I loved it. And I love that they acknowledged Ex Machina, and they did it in such a subtle way that I think a lot of people are going to miss it for that reason. It wasn't in your face. But I think that's also that's the right way to do something like that. I'm glad that they brought up Frankenstein also in the episode. That one was more in your face, like, oh, this is what's going on, this is current. And they did that a couple episodes ago with Assassin's Creed Syndicate. And that's fine too. But I think it's so much better when they just pay those tributes or make those acknowledgments.
I think South Park has a really creative way of exaggerating real life situations and then giving homages, I would say, to other things as well that the writers like. The writers have a very intricate way of writing. And as someone who never liked it and then has been enjoying it now, the writing is very creative.
Absolutely. And they're on their ball. And next week's season finale, I'm sad to say that. I'm afraid that we're not going to have South Park until September. I'm afraid to live in that world right now with no South Park, because this season's been incredible. But we want to know what you guys thought about this episode. Did you like it? Like we said, there weren't too much in terms of material, jokes, a new kind of topic. But they did advance the story, and they built things up very nicely for next week. So let us know what you guys thought of that, whether you like what they're doing or not. Did you catch the Ex Machina reference? If you did see Ex Machina and you watched this episode, and subscribe, because it takes around this much effort to do so. Until next time, I'm Joe.
And I'm Rob. And
you've been traumatized?
And lionized. And thank you so much for everyone for tuning into this review and recap of South Park. I really hope that you will leave your thoughts, comments below, as Joe said, and you can check other episodes out from Otherobert right now. Bye, guys.